Ice crystals danced across Alex Rivers' helmet visor as he maneuvered his small salvage pod through the asteroid field. At 18, he was the youngest Guardian to ever receive Deep Space Patrol duty, though most of his fellow officers reminded him of this fact daily. The frozen rocks of the Krios Belt stretched endlessly in all directions, each one a potential treasure trove of rare metals or ancient debris. His comm crackled to life. "Rivers, what's your status out there?" Captain Torres's voice carried the usual tone of mild irritation. "You've been silent for 20 minutes. "Just following the scanner readings, sir," Alex replied, adjusting his pod's trajectory toward a particularly large asteroid cluster. "There's something unusual about the energy signatures here." "Unusual how?" Alex frowned at his instruments. The readings didn't make sense. Most asteroids gave off cold, dead signals. This cluster pulsed with faint but steady energy, like a heartbeat, frozen in time. "Sir, I'm getting power readings from inside the ice. It might be worth checking out." A long pause filled the comm channel. "Rivers, you're on salvage duty, not exploration. Collect what you can find and return to base." "Yes, sir." But Alex didn't change course. Something drew him toward the massive ice formation ahead. As he got closer, his breath caught in his throat. The ice wasn't wrapped around random asteroids. It had formed around something artificial, something huge. Through the translucent blue-white surface, he could make out the outline of a ship. Not just any ship, but something that looked ancient and powerful. The hull stretched for nearly 2 kilometers, with distinctive markings that seemed familiar yet impossibly old. Alex's heart pounded as he activated his pod's high-resolution scanner. The results made him dizzy. The ship's design matched historical records from the First Interstellar War 3 centuries ago. But that was impossible. No ships from that era had ever been found intact, especially not out here in the outer rim. Circled the ice formation slowly, recording everything. The ship appeared to be in perfect condition, preserved by the absolute cold of space. Strange symbols covered the hull, and weapon ports lined its sides like sleeping eyes. Most incredible of all, his scanner detected faint energy readings coming from deep within the vessel. "This can't be real," Alex whispered to himself. He had studied the old war stories in training. Ships like this were myths, legends told to inspire young guardians. The heroes of the First War had disappeared into space, never to be seen again. Yet here, one of their vessels sat before him, waiting. His comm buzzed again. "Rivers, report your position immediately." Alex hesitated. Protocol demanded he report back to Captain Torres right away, but he also knew what would happen. The captain would order him to return, and some senior officer would take over the investigation. This discovery, his discovery, would become someone else's glory. Instead, he powered up his pod's emergency beacon and began broadcasting on all frequencies. "This is Guardian Alex Rivers calling any available units. I have discovered what appears to be a derelict warship of unknown origin in the Krios asteroid field. Coordinates follow." The response was immediate and angry. "Rivers, what the hell do you think you're doing? Shut down that beacon immediately." "Sir, you need to see this. The ship appears to be from the First War period. It's perfectly preserved and showing signs of active power systems." "Impossible. Those ships are 300 years old. Nothing from that era could still be functional." Alex uploaded his scanner data to the Guardian network. Within minutes, his comm system lit up with incoming calls from officers throughout the system. The energy readings alone were enough to catch attention, but when the historical analysis programs identified the ship's design, everything changed. "Rivers, this is Commander Price from Guardian Command. You are to hold position and wait for the research team. Do not, under any circumstances, attempt to board that vessel." "Understood, sir." Alex allowed himself a small smile. Let them try to take credit now. His name was already attached to the discovery in the official logs. As he waited, Alex studied the ship more carefully. The ice around it told a story. This vessel hadn't crashed or drifted here by accident. The ice formation was too perfect, too controlled. Someone or something had deliberately frozen this ship in place. His scanner detected something else that made his skin crawl. The ship's hull showed signs of battle damage, laser burns, projectile impacts, and stranger marks that didn't match any known weapons. Whatever had happened to this ship, it had fought hard before ending up here. The research team arrived 6 hours later in a massive recovery vessel. Alex watched from his pod as they began the delicate process of melting away the ice. Captain Torres finally arrived on the scene, his expression grim. "Rivers, dock with the research vessel immediately. You're needed for debriefing." As Alex guided his pod into the larger ship's docking bay, he couldn't stop staring at the ancient warship. Ice fell away in chunks, revealing more details of its construction. The hull bore symbols he recognized from his history classes, but there were others that seemed completely alien. Dr. Emma Stone, the lead researcher, greeted him in the docking bay. "You've made quite a discovery, young man. This ship appears to be the UES Defiance, one of the legendary vessels from the First War. If the records are correct, it was commanded by some of the greatest heroes in human history." "The Defiance?" Alex's voice cracked slightly. Every Guardian knew that name. "But it disappeared during the final battle. The entire crew was listed as missing in action. Missing, yes, but apparently not destroyed." Dr. Stone's eyes gleamed with excitement. "We're detecting active power sources throughout the ship. After 3 centuries, something is still running in there. The question is what and why." As they spoke, a low vibration ran through the research vessel. Outside the viewports, the ancient warship's lights began to flicker on, one by one, as if awakening from a long sleep. Alex felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold of space. Whatever secrets the Defiance held, they were about to be revealed. Steam rose from the ancient hull as industrial heaters worked around the clock to free the Defiance from its icy prison. Alex pressed his face against the observation deck window, watching maintenance crews swarm over the ship like insects. 3 days had passed since his discovery, and Guardian Command had turned the recovery operation into the largest deep space project in decades. "Still can't believe you found her out there all by yourself," said Pete Wilson, another young Guardian, who had arrived with the second wave of personnel. "The brass are calling it the find of the century." Alex nodded but kept his attention on the ship. Something bothered him about the way the Defiance had awakened. The lights hadn't come on randomly. They had followed a pattern, almost like the ship was thinking about whether to trust them or not. Dr. Stone appeared beside them, carrying a tablet full of readings. "The ship's power core is unlike anything we've seen before. It's not nuclear, not fusion, not even antimatter. The energy signature is completely unknown." "What does that mean?" Alex asked. "It means the crew of the Defiance had access to technology we've lost, or maybe technology we never had to begin with." She paused, studying her data. "We're ready to attempt contact with the ship's systems. Since you made the discovery, Command wants you on the boarding team." Alex's heart jumped. "Really?" "Don't get too excited. You'll be there as an observer only. Touch nothing, say nothing, and stay close to the senior officers." The boarding tube connected to the Defiance with a soft thud that vibrated through the research station. Alex followed Captain Torres and Dr. Stone through the airlock, his hands shaking with excitement and fear. The moment he stepped aboard the ancient ship, he knew something was different. The air felt alive somehow, not just breathable, but warm and moving as if the ship's life support systems had been waiting for them. Emergency lighting cast long shadows down corridors that had seen no human presence for 3 centuries. "Atmospheric readings are normal," reported Chief Engineer Park, scanning the air with his instruments. "Temperature is comfortable. Oxygen levels are perfect. It's like someone just left 5 minutes ago." They moved deeper into the ship, their footsteps echoing strangely. Alex noticed that dust should have covered everything after so long, but the corridors were spotless. The ship was maintaining itself. At the bridge entrance, they stopped. The massive doors bore symbols that seemed to shift and change when Alex wasn't looking directly at them. Dr. Stone placed her hand on a scanner panel, and the doors slid open with a whisper. The bridge took Alex's breath away. It was larger than any modern command center, with stations arranged in perfect harmony. But what captured his attention was the figure standing at the central console. It wasn't solid. The woman appeared to be made of blue light, translucent, but clearly defined. She turned toward them with a smile that seemed both sad and hopeful. "Welcome aboard the UES Defiance," she said, her voice carrying the slight echo of a hologram. "I am Arya, Adaptive Response Intelligence Assistant. I have been waiting a very long time for humans to find us." Captain Torres stepped forward slowly. "You're an artificial intelligence?" "I am what remains of the ship's command systems, enhanced by the final thoughts and memories of my crew before their sacrifice." Arya's image flickered slightly. "I have maintained this vessel for 307 years, 2 months and 16 days, hoping that humanity would one day return to finish what we started." Alex found his voice. "What did you start?" Arya turned her attention to him, and he felt as if she was seeing straight through to his soul. "You are young. Good. The young remember how to hope." She gestured to the main view screen, which came alive with images of space battles and alien ships unlike anything in current. "Guardian files. We fought an enemy called the Void Collective. They were not like other aliens. They consumed entire star systems, turning everything into extensions of their hive mind. They came through dimensional rifts, appearing anywhere in space without warning. The images showed human ships fighting desperately against vessels that seemed to absorb light itself. The enemy craft moved in perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single intelligence. The war was going badly," Arya continued. "Humanity was losing system after system, so my crew volunteered for a suicide mission. We carried an experimental weapon to the primary dimensional rift and detonated it from the inside, sealing the gateway between dimensions. But the ship survived," Dr. Stone observed. "The explosion threw us through space and time. We ended up here, in this time period, trapped in ice but preserved by the dimensional energy still contained in our power core." Arya's expression grew troubled. "However, I must warn you. The seal we created is weakening. I have detected signs that the Void Collective is attempting to break through from their dimension." Alex felt cold fear creep up his spine. "Are you saying they're coming back?" "The probability increases each day. That is why I have preserved not just this ship, but all the tactical knowledge my crew gathered about fighting the Collective. Humanity will need every advantage when they return." Arya moved to different stations around the bridge, her holographic form passing through solid matter. "Commander Beth Walsh, Engineer Tom Hayes, Navigator Lisa Kim, and Weapons Specialist David Cross gave their lives to buy humanity time. They left behind everything they learned about the enemy, stored in my memory banks." She activated another display showing star charts and technical readouts. "The Collective's ships are vulnerable to specific energy frequencies. Their hive mind can be disrupted by targeted electromagnetic pulses. Most importantly, they cannot function in areas of high-dimensional instability." Captain Torres was taking notes rapidly. "This information needs to reach Guardian Command immediately." "I agree. But there is more." Arya looked directly at Alex. Again. "The crew left personal messages for the humans who would eventually find us. They knew they would not survive, but they hoped their sacrifice would inspire future generations." The bridge filled with new holographic figures. 4 people in ancient Guardian uniforms appeared, their faces showing determination mixed with sadness. Alex recognized them from historical records, though the images were usually grainy and unclear. Seeing them here, preserved in perfect detail, made them seem incredibly real. Commander Walsh stepped forward. "If you are seeing this message, then humanity has survived and grown strong enough to find us. We are proud of what you have become, and we trust you to continue protecting human space from any threat." Engineer Hayes nodded. "The technical specifications for our weapons and defenses are stored in Arya's memory. Use them well, but remember that our greatest strength has always been our ability to adapt and work together." Navigator Kim smiled. "Explore the galaxy, but never forget that home is worth fighting for. The stars are vast, but humanity's heart is vaster." Weapons Specialist Cross looked serious. "The enemy will return someday. When they do, remember that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what's right even when you're terrified." The figures faded, leaving only Arya on the bridge. They recorded those messages in their final hours, knowing they would never see the outcome of their sacrifice. But they believed in humanity's future. Alex wiped his eyes, not caring if the others saw his tears. "We won't let their sacrifice be meaningless." "I believe you," Arya said softly. "You have the same look in your eyes that Commander Walsh had, the look of someone who will do whatever it takes to protect others." As they prepared to leave the bridge, Alex turned back to Arya. "Will you come with us? To help prepare humanity for what's coming?" The AI smiled. "I have been alone for so long. Yes, I will help. Together we will make sure the Void Collective never threatens human space again." Outside the ship, Alex looked up at the stars and wondered which ones might hide enemies waiting to return. But for the first time since making his discovery, he felt ready for whatever was coming. Alex walked through the restored crew quarters of the Defiance, his footsteps echoing in the corridors that had once housed humanity's greatest heroes. 2 weeks had passed since Arya first activated, and the AI had spent every moment sharing the preserved memories of her former crew. The ship itself had become a museum of courage, each room telling the story of ordinary people who did extraordinary things. The crew's personal quarters remain exactly as they left them, Arya explained, her holographic form gliding beside Alex. "I have maintained everything perfectly, hoping that someday their stories would inspire a new generation of Guardians." They stopped outside a door marked Commander B. Walsh. The nameplate was simple metal, showing no sign of the 3 centuries that had passed. Arya touched the control panel, and the door slid open to reveal a modest room filled with personal belongings. Books lined one wall, actual paper books that were rare even in the commander's time. A small desk held handwritten notes and tactical diagrams. Photos covered another wall, showing a woman with kind eyes and a determined smile alongside her crew and family. "Beth Walsh was not the strongest fighter or the smartest tactician," Arya said softly. "But she had something more important. She could make people believe in themselves and in each other. Watch." The room filled with holographic light, and suddenly, Commander Walsh stood before them, reviewing battle plans at her desk. The recording was so clear that Alex felt he could reach out and touch her. "Tom, I need you to check the power coupling again," the holographic Walsh said to someone off-screen. "If the dimensional weapon fails, this whole mission is pointless." Engineer Tom Hayes appeared in the doorway, wiping grease from his hands. "Commander, I've run the calculations 50 times. The weapon will work, but the power requirements will destroy the ship. We all know what that means." Walsh nodded calmly. "We've talked about this. Each of us volunteered knowing the cost. The question is whether we can save humanity, not whether we can save ourselves." Alex watched, fascinated as the scene played out. These people had known they were going to die, yet they worked with steady determination and even shared quiet jokes. They faced the ultimate sacrifice with dignity and hope. The hologram faded, and Arya led Alex to the next room. Engineer Hayes's quarters were filled with technical manuals and half-finished inventions. Tools covered every surface, and diagrams of impossible machines decorated the walls. Tom was brilliant, Arya explained. He could look at any piece of technology and immediately understand how to improve it. More importantly, he could explain complex ideas in ways that anyone could understand. Another hologram activated, showing Hayes working frantically at a console while explosions rocked the ship. Arya, reroute all power to the forward shields. I don't care if we lose life support, we need to get close enough to deploy the weapon. Tom, that will kill us in 20 minutes, came Arya's voice from the ship's speakers. The weapon deploys in 15 minutes. That gives us 5 minutes to say goodbye. Hayes smiled grimly as he worked. Besides, I always wondered what would happen if I pushed the engines past their theoretical limits. Looks like I'm about to find out. Alex felt his throat tighten. The casual way Hayes discussed his own death while focusing on the mission showed incredible courage. These weren't superhumans from legend. They were people like him, just as scared, but determined to do what was right. Navigator Lisa Kim's room told a different story. Star charts covered every wall, showing routes through space that most pilots would consider impossible. A small garden grew in one corner, somehow still alive after 3 centuries under Arya's care. Lisa loved to explore, Arya said, touching one of the plants gently. She said that no matter how far from home you traveled, you should always carry a piece of earth with you. These flowers are descendants of seeds she brought from her grandmother's garden. The holographic Kim appeared, studying a 3-dimensional star map. Commander, I've found a route to the dimensional rift that should keep us hidden from collective patrols. It means flying through the nebula of ghosts, but if we time it right, the radiation will mask our approach. That nebula has destroyed every ship that's tried to cross it, came Walsh's voice. Kim grinned. Every ship with a normal pilot. But I'm not normal, remember? I'm the navigator who got us out of the Vega system when everyone said it was impossible. Trust me one more time. Alex smiled despite his emotions. Kim's confidence was infectious, even 3 centuries later. She had led her crew through impossible dangers with skill and optimism. The final room belonged to weapons specialist David Cross. Unlike the others, his quarters were stark and simple. A few weapons hung on the walls, each one perfectly maintained. A single photo sat on the nightstand, showing Cross with a woman and 2 small children. David was our conscience, Arya explained. He reminded us that we fought not because we loved war, but because we loved peace. He never forgot what we were trying to protect. The holographic cross appeared, cleaning his sidearm with careful precision. His face was scarred from previous battles, but his eyes held gentle warmth. Arya, I want you to record a message. If humanity survives this war, if children grow up in a galaxy free from the collective, I want them to know something important. Recording. David. Cross looked directly into the recording device, as if he could see across the centuries to Alex and future generations. War is not glorious. Taking a life, even an enemy life, leaves marks on your soul that never fade. But sometimes, evil must be stopped by those willing to bear that burden. If you are called to fight, fight for love, not hate. Fight to protect, not to destroy. And remember that every enemy was once someone's child. Show mercy when you can, but never hesitate when innocent lives are at stake. Alex wiped tears from his eyes. The message felt personal, as if Cross was speaking directly to him. Arya noticed his emotion and placed a ghostly hand on his shoulder. They left these recordings for you, Alex, for all the young guardians who would come after them. They knew their sacrifice would mean nothing unless future generations learned from their example. They returned to the bridge where Arya activated the main display. There is one final message recorded by all 4 crew members together in their last moments. They wanted to ensure their tactical knowledge survived, but more importantly, they wanted to pass on their hope. The bridge filled with holographic figures. All 4 crew members stood at their stations, working calmly even as warning alarms blared around them. The dimensional weapon was charging, and the ship shook under enemy fire. "Arya, begin final recording," Commander Walsh ordered. "If anyone finds this ship, they need to know what we learned about fighting the collective." Engineer Hayes looked up from his console. "The enemy's weakness is their unity. They think as one mind, so they can't adapt quickly to unexpected tactics. Hit them with something they've never seen before, and you'll have a few precious seconds to exploit their confusion." Navigator Kim added, "They rely on dimensional rifts for movement. Disrupt the rifts, and you strand their forces. Force them to fight conventionally, and human creativity becomes a massive advantage." Weapons Specialist Cross nodded grimly. "Most importantly, they feed on fear and despair. They become stronger when their enemies lose hope. Stay calm, trust your training, and remember that humanity has never backed down from a fight when the stakes were high enough." Commander Walsh stepped forward. "To whoever finds this message, know that we died gladly to give humanity a chance. Use our sacrifice wisely. Protect those who cannot protect themselves. Explore the stars with wonder, not fear. And never forget that humanity's greatest strength is not our weapons or our ships, but our ability to stand together when everything seems lost." The recording ended with the 4 crew members taking their positions for the final assault. They faced death with courage and dignity, their last thoughts focused on protecting others rather than saving themselves. Alex stood quietly for a long moment, processing everything he had seen. These people had become legends not because they were perfect, but because they chose to do what was right when it mattered most. Their legacy wasn't just the tactical knowledge they preserved, but the example they set for future generations. "Thank you for showing me this," Alex said to Arya. "I understand now why you've waited so long. Their story needed to be told." "Their story? Yes, but also your story, Alex. You represent the future they died to protect. The question now is what you will do with the knowledge they have given you." Alex looked at the empty command chairs where heroes once sat. "Whatever it takes to make sure their sacrifice wasn't in vain. When the collective returns, humanity will be ready." Arya smiled, her holographic form shimmering with something that might have been pride. "I believe they would be proud of you, Alex Rivers. You have the same spirit that made them legends." Outside the viewport, stars shone with the light of distant suns, each one a reminder of how vast the galaxy was and how much humanity had to protect. Alex felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders, but also the strength that came from knowing he wasn't facing it alone. The legacy of the Defiance crew would guide him, just as it would guide all who came after. The Guardian Command meeting room buzzed with tension as Alex finished his presentation. For 3 hours, he had shared everything Arya had taught him about the Void Collective, their tactics, and their inevitable return. The holographic displays showed alien ship designs, dimensional rift technology, and battle strategies that seemed impossible to defeat. Admiral Grant, the head of Guardian Command, leaned back in his chair with obvious skepticism. "Mr. Rivers, you're asking us to believe that an enemy from 3 centuries ago is about to return through dimensional holes in space. Do you understand how that sounds?" "Sir, the evidence is right there in Arya's data files," Alex replied, trying to keep the frustration out of his voice. "The dimensional seal is weakening. We're already detecting energy spikes that match collective signatures. Energy spikes that could be caused by solar flares, quantum fluctuations, or a dozen other natural phenomena," interrupted General Morris, the director of defense planning. "We can't restructure our entire military based on ghost stories and ancient legends." Captain Torres, who had remained quiet during most of the meeting, finally spoke up. "With respect, sir, I've seen the Defiance firsthand. The technology aboard that ship is beyond anything we currently possess. If the crew's warnings are accurate, we need to take them seriously. Admiral Grant waved dismissively. The ship is impressive, I'll grant you that. But it's 300 years old. Our current fleet is faster, stronger, and more advanced than anything from that era. Even if these void collective creatures do return, we're more than capable of handling them. Alex felt his temper rising. Sir, you don't understand. The collective doesn't fight like we do. They don't use conventional tactics or technology. They adapt instantly to whatever we throw at them. The only reason humanity survived the First War was because heroes like Commander Walsh and her crew sacrificed everything to buy us time. Heroes who are long dead, General Morris said coldly. We appreciate their sacrifice, but this is the modern era. We have weapons and defenses they couldn't have imagined. The meeting broke up with polite thanks and promises to consider the information carefully. Alex knew what that meant. They would file his report and forget about it. He walked out of the command center feeling defeated and angry. Arya was waiting for him in the corridor, her holographic form flickering with what looked like frustration. They did not believe you. How could you tell? I have been observing human behavior for over 3 centuries. I recognize denial when I see it. Arya's expression grew troubled. Unfortunately, we may not have much time to convince them. My sensors are detecting increasing dimensional instability throughout this sector. Alex stopped walking. What does that mean? The collective is testing the barriers between dimensions. They are looking for weak points where they can break through. Each test makes the next attempt easier. Arya paused, her form shimmering. I estimate we have perhaps 2 weeks before they achieve a stable breakthrough. Fear and determination warred in Alex's chest. Then we need to be ready, whether command believes us or not. Over the next few days, Alex found himself caught between his duties as a guardian and his growing certainty that disaster was approaching. He continued his regular patrols, but spent every free moment studying the tactical files Arya had preserved. The AI taught him everything the Defiance crew had learned about fighting the collective, from weapons frequencies to formation strategies. Captain Torres began joining their sessions, despite orders from command to focus on current threats, rather than historical curiosities. The older officer had seen enough combat to recognize the value of hard-won tactical knowledge. The thing that bothers me, Torres said during one briefing, is how confident command seems. They think our modern technology makes us invincible. But technology alone never won a war. It's the people using it that matter. Arya nodded approvingly. Commander Walsh said something similar. She believed that humanity's greatest advantage was not superior weapons, but superior adaptability. The collective thinks in patterns. Humans think creatively. Their discussions were interrupted by an urgent alert from the outer system monitoring stations. Alex's blood ran cold as he read the report. Long-range sensors had detected spatial anomalies near the edge of Guardian space. The energy signatures matched nothing in their databases, but Alex recognized them immediately from Arya's files. It's them, he whispered. The collective is probing our defenses. Captain Torres activated the emergency communication system. Command, this is Captain Torres aboard the research station. We have confirmed void collective energy signatures on the outer perimeter. Request immediate fleet deployment. The response came back within minutes. Torres, you will maintain radio silence regarding unconfirmed threats. Continue normal operations until further notice. Alex stared at the comm unit in disbelief. They're ignoring direct evidence. Fear makes people do foolish things, Arya observed. They are so afraid of being wrong that they refuse to prepare for being right. The next few days brought increasingly troubling reports. Patrol ships reported equipment malfunctions and strange readings. Communication arrays experienced random failures. Most disturbing of all, 3 Guardian vessels had gone missing during routine missions, their last transmissions cut off in mid-sentence. Alex knew what was happening. The collective was weakening the barriers between dimensions, creating instability that affected nearby technology. But when he tried to report his conclusions, Command dismissed them as equipment failures and pilot error. The breakthrough came, without warning. Alex was reviewing tactical data in the Defiance's bridge when Arya suddenly straightened, her holographic form blazing with alarm. Alex, massive dimensional distortion detected at coordinates 77 Mark IV. The barriers are collapsing. On the main view screen, space itself seemed to tear open. A rift of absolute darkness appeared among the stars, crackling with energy that hurt to look at directly. From within the rift, shapes began to emerge. Ships that absorbed light rather than reflecting it, moving with predatory grace toward the inner system. "Get me command," Alex shouted into his comm unit. "This is Guardian Rivers with urgent priority alert. The Void Collective has breached dimensional barriers and is entering Guardian space. We need immediate fleet response." Static filled the channel for several seconds before Admiral Grant's voice came through, tight with disbelief and growing fear. "Rivers, confirm your report. Are you saying we're under attack?" "Yes, sir. Multiple collective vessels are emerging from a dimensional rift. They're heading directly toward populated systems. The view screen showed more ships emerging from the darkness." Alex counted at least 20 of the alien vessels, each one larger than anything in the Guardian fleet. They moved in perfect formation, like fingers of a single hand reaching toward humanity's worlds. "All Guardian units, this is Admiral Grant. We have confirmed hostile contact on the outer perimeter. All ships are to respond with maximum force. This is not a drill." Alex felt a mixture of vindication and terror. He had been right, but being right meant that humanity was about to face an enemy that had nearly destroyed them once before. The difference was that this time, they had warning and preparation. "Arya, can the Defiance fight?" he asked, the AI's form solidified with determination. "This ship was built to fight the collective. My weapon systems are fully operational, and I have 3 centuries of tactical experience to draw upon. But Alex, you must understand the risk. If we take the Defiance into battle, you could die just as Commander Walsh and her crew did." Alex looked at the alien ships approaching human space and thought about all the people who would suffer if the collective wasn't stopped. "Then I'll die doing something that matters. Can you contact Captain Torres?" "Already done. He is requesting permission to take a small Guardian fleet to support us." "And Command's response?" Arya's expression was grim. "They have granted permission. I believe they realize that conventional tactics may not be sufficient against this enemy." Alex took the captain's chair that had once belonged to Beth Walsh. The bridge around him hummed with power as Arya brought all systems online. Outside, the stars waited, and between them and Earth, an ancient enemy approached with deadly purpose. "This is it," Alex said quietly. "Everything the crew of the Defiance died for comes down to this moment." "They would be proud of you," Arya replied. "You understand what they understood. Sometimes, to protect what you love, you must be willing to sacrifice everything." The Defiance powered up its engines and turned toward the approaching darkness. Behind them, a small fleet of Guardian ships followed, their crews knowing they were about to face an enemy unlike anything they had ever encountered. Alex gripped the armrests of his chair and prepared to discover whether humanity had learned enough from the past to survive the future. The Defiance cut through space like a sword of light, leading a formation of 12 Guardian ships toward the dimensional rift where the Void Collective continued to pour through. Alex gripped the command chair as the ancient warship's weapons. Systems came online, their targeting displays showing energy signatures that had been dormant for 3 centuries. "Collective vessels are maintaining standard hive formation," Arya reported, her holographic form standing calmly beside the tactical display. 24 ships have emerged so far, with more following. They are proceeding toward the inner system at .7 light speed. Captain Torres's voice crackled over the comm from his ship, the Guardian vessel Honor. Rivers, our weapons are having minimal effect on their shields. Whatever technology they're using, it's adapting to our attack patterns faster than we can adjust. Alex had expected this. The collective's greatest strength was their ability to learn and adapt in real time, but he also remembered what Commander Walsh's crew had discovered about their greatest weakness. All Guardian ships, this is Alex Rivers aboard the Defiance. Switch to unpredictable attack patterns. Don't follow standard formations or tactics. The enemy adapts to organized strategies, but they struggle with chaos and creativity. Understood. Defiance. All ships, break formation, and engage at will. The Guardian fleet scattered like leaves in the wind, each ship choosing its own approach to the enemy. Some came in high, others low, while a few attempted direct frontal assaults. The collective ships, which had been smoothly adjusting to the Guardian's initial coordinated attack, suddenly hesitated as their hive mind struggled to process 12 different tactical approaches simultaneously. Now, Arya, Alex ordered. Hit them with the dimensional disruptor while they're confused. The Defiance's main weapon, technology that had been lost to humanity for 3 centuries, fired a beam of pure dimensional energy. The blast struck the lead collective ship and passed right through its adaptive shields as if they didn't exist. The alien vessel shuddered and went dark, its connection to the hive mind severed. Excellent. Arya's voice carried notes of satisfaction and old memory. The disruptor frequency is still effective, targeting second vessel, but the collective learned quickly. Within seconds, their ships had adapted new shield configurations that partially deflected the dimensional weapon. They also changed tactics, abandoning their neat formation to spread out across a wider area of space. They're learning, Alex muttered, watching the tactical display update in real time. As expected, Arya replied, but so are we. Watch. The AI began cycling through different weapon frequencies, never using the same setting twice. Each shot forced the collective to adapt, but before they could fully adjust, she switched to something completely different. Meanwhile, the Guardian ships followed Alex's advice, using unpredictable maneuvers that kept the enemy off balance. The battle became a deadly dance of adaptation and counter-adaptation. The collective ships were individually more powerful, but humanity's chaotic tactics prevented them from achieving the coordination that made them nearly invincible. Alex, Arya said suddenly, I'm detecting a massive energy buildup at the dimensional rift. Something much larger is trying to come through. On the view screen, the rift expanded dramatically. Space twisted and folded as something enormous pushed through from the other dimension. When it finally emerged, Alex's heart sank. The new ship was 10 times larger than anything they had faced, bristling with weapons and radiating an aura of malevolent intelligence. Collective command vessel, Arya identified grimly. If that ship establishes itself in our dimension, it will coordinate all enemy forces and make them far more effective. Can we stop it? The dimensional rift is still unstable while the command ship is emerging. If we can destabilize it further, we might be able to collapse the entire gateway. But it would require sacrificing this ship, just as Commander Walsh's crew did 3 centuries ago. Alex felt the weight of history pressing down on him. He was being offered the same choice that had faced the legendary crew of the Defiance. Save humanity through sacrifice, or watch the galaxy fall to an enemy that consumed entire civilizations. But then he remembered something else from the crew's final message. They had believed that future generations would be stronger and smarter than they were. Maybe there was another way. Arya, what if we don't try to destroy the rift? What if we make it unstable in a different way? Explain. Alex's mind raced as he pulled together everything he had learned about dimensional physics and collective technology. The enemy uses the rift for transportation, right? But what if we turned it into a trap? Made it so unstable that anything trying to use it gets scattered across multiple dimensions? Arya's holographic form brightened with understanding. Dimensional fragmentation. It's theoretically possible, but the calculations required would be enormous. You have the processing power of a ship's AI plus 3 centuries to think about it, and I have something the original crew didn't have. Alex activated the fleet communication system. All Guardian ships, this is Alex Rivers. I need every ship to link their navigation computers to the Defiance. We're going to attempt something that's never been tried before. Captain Torres was the first to respond. Alex, what are you planning? We're going to turn the enemy's greatest advantage into their greatest weakness. Trust me. One by one, the Guardian ships linked their computer systems to Arya's network. The ancient AI suddenly had access to 12 different sets of modern sensors, navigation systems, and tactical computers. The combination of old wisdom and new technology created possibilities that neither could achieve alone. Fascinating, Arya murmured, her form flickering as she processed vast amounts of data. The modern navigation systems are far more precise than anything we had in my time. Combined with my dimensional calculations, yes, this could work. The collective command ship had fully emerged from the rift and was beginning to coordinate the scattered alien forces. Enemy ships that had been fighting independently suddenly moved with renewed purpose and efficiency. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it now, Alex said. All ships, target the dimensional rift with your navigation deflectors, Arya commanded through the fleet communication system. I'm sending you specific coordinates and frequency patterns. This will create a resonance cascade that turns the rift into a dimensional maze. Will this destroy the enemy? Captain Torres asked. No, Alex replied. It will do something better. It will trap them in a pocket dimension where they can't reach our universe or return to their own. They'll be stuck forever, unable to threaten anyone. The Guardian ships moved into position around the massive rift. The collective forces, recognizing the threat, turned their attention from advancing toward human space to protecting their dimensional gateway. A fierce battle erupted as the aliens tried to prevent the Guardians from implementing their plan. Initiating dimensional resonance, Arya announced. All ships fire on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. 12 ships fired simultaneously at precisely calculated points around the rift. The beams struck the edges of the dimensional tear and began creating interference patterns that spread inward like ripples on a pond. The rift, which had been stable and controlled, suddenly began fluctuating wildly. The collective command ship tried to retreat through the gateway, but the dimensional instability caught it halfway through. The massive vessel stretched and distorted as parts of it existed in different dimensions simultaneously. Its crew's screams echoed across space in frequencies that no human ear could hear. One by one, the other collective ships were pulled into the chaotic rift. Some tried to fight against the dimensional currents, others attempted to escape into normal space, but the resonance cascade was too powerful. Within minutes, every enemy vessel had been drawn into the collapsing gateway. It's working, Alex breathed, watching the tactical display as the rift folded in on itself. They're all trapped. The dimensional tear collapsed with a flash of light that briefly outshone nearby stars. When the glare faded, there was nothing left but empty space and scattered debris. The Void Collective was gone, sealed away in a pocket dimension from which they could never escape. Cheers erupted over the fleet communication system as the Guardian crews realized they had won. But Alex felt only quiet satisfaction and deep gratitude to the crew who had made this victory possible. Arya, we did it. We actually did it. The AI's holographic form smiled with pride and relief. No, Alex, you did it. You found a solution that saved both humanity and this ship. Commander Walsh and her crew would be amazed and proud of what you accomplished. In the weeks that followed, Alex found himself receiving honors and recognition from across human space. The Cross of Valor was just the beginning. More importantly, he was promoted to captain and given command of the Defiance, which had been officially restored to active service. Arya remained as the ship's AI, but her role expanded beyond military operations. She became an instructor at the Guardian Academy, teaching new recruits about courage, sacrifice, and the importance of learning from the past while embracing the future. Alex stood on the bridge of the Defiance, looking out at the stars and thinking about the incredible journey that had brought him here. He was no longer the youngest Guardian on deep space patrol. He was a captain with the responsibility to protect human space and train the next generation of heroes. "Captain Rivers," came a voice from the bridge entrance. Alex turned to see a young Guardian, barely 18 and fresh from the academy. "I'm Ensign Lisa Park, reporting for duty. I've studied everything about the Void Collective battle and the history of this ship. I hope someday I can be half as brave as you and the legendary crew." Alex smiled, remembering how he had felt when he first met Arya and learned about Commander Walsh and her crew. "Ensign Park, the best way to honor the past is to create a future worth fighting for. Welcome aboard the Defiance." As the young officer took her position at one of the bridge stations, Alex reflected on how the cycle continued. Each generation of Guardians learned from those who came before while adding their own innovations and courage to humanity's story. The galaxy was vast and full of unknown dangers, but as long as people were willing to stand up for what was right, humanity would continue to thrive among the stars. Arya appeared beside him, her holographic form warm with approval. "The crew would be proud, Alex. You've ensured that their sacrifice created not just victory, but hope for all the generations to come." Alex nodded, his eyes on the stars ahead. "Then let's make sure that hope becomes reality. Set course for the Outer Rim, Arya. There's always more exploring to do, more people to protect, and more young Guardians to train." The Defiance turned toward the unknown reaches of space, carrying with it the legacy of heroes past and the promise of heroes yet to come. In the vast darkness between stars, humanity's light burned brighter than ever, guided by courage, wisdom, and the unshakable belief that together they could face any challenge the universe might offer.